So, we have all, at least most of us have heard about performance management, and that's what I'd like us to talk about today. If you're someone there and you hate performance management, please tell us down there, what is this that you really hate about performance management? And you love performance management, you're special to us, we love you. Please tell us what you love about performance management. So I have experienced a lot of people who really hate performance management, and very many people hate performance management. Among all the HR functions, it's one of the functions that people want just to, what is all this about HR paperwork and ABCD? But why would we hate a process that makes us actually track and monitor results? Something that helps companies and corporates be able to achieve their strategy. If you ask me, I think it's the wrapping. I think it's how we package it. So how about us demystifying what performance management process is all about? And to do this, allow me to to use the analogy of football. I'm going to call the performance management football analogy, where we have a game to manage for 90 minutes. So we already have a timeline that is 90 minutes. We already have our goal. We already have our players who are very clear about what their mandate is in that particular field. Everybody knows what they are supposed to do, pass to who, coordinate with who, and for how long. It's very smart, very specific, and the team is aligned. But when it comes to the corporates, sometimes you come and find that people are not aligned. There are very many people sometimes in our teams who don't even know which player they're playing. Is it a goalkeeper? Is it a defender? Is it a striker? Is it a substitute? Sitting and watching other people just doing what they have to do. We have a manager who is supposed to be the coach, but is nowhere in the pitch. Nowhere in the pitch. So we have to look at these things in terms of performance management and make it live to things that we can actually understand, away from what that we have done in class. So in football, the coach or the club owner goes out there with a very clear specification of who exactly they're looking for. They know for us to do this game well, it can only play with 11 players. Sometimes we don't do that. We even fail to plan the workforce, and therefore we go playing with a team of 6 instead of 11. We go playing with a team of 18 instead of 11, or have a lot of workforce or be understaffed. If your team is not adequately staffed, you're going to face performance issues. So make sure the first thing that you do is HR planning. You plan for your workforce, know the optimal number of people that are supposed to be in that particular pitch. Are you having that 11 number? When one player is removed from the pitch, a lot goes wrong. A lot goes wrong. When you have an overstaffing, you have people who have been underemployed in your organization. And when people are underemployed, they're actually not working and they feel bad. Because apart from working for the business, we have our own personal goals. We want to grow our careers. We want to contribute. We want to feel significant. And when you take that away from us, you kill the individuals without knowing. And if you're the manager, if you're in HR, make sure your teams are optimally staffed. You're very sure people are not overworked or underemployed. The next thing is the role clarity. We cannot score unless we know what exactly are we doing for that team. I'm coming in this finance team to do what? What exactly is my role? And how does it communicate with the next and the next and the next? So job descriptions might sound like very simple things, but in my opinion, a job description is so important because it forms the foundations of everything else that you get to do in HR function. And therefore, we should not give people generic job descriptions that are not aligned to what they're supposed to be doing for the business. If you get someone who's a striker in a football pitch and make them a goalie or a defender, again, a lot will go wrong. And something else that we also learn from that football pitch is the strength. In football, people play on their strengths. You will not find someone who is very weak on this and that's where they are being placed. But sometimes as managers, as HR people also, we do not stand to weigh and go like, you know what, I think Jane is very strong in this. Or when we are hiring for this particular position, we are looking for this kind of strengths. And that needs to be defined in advance. You define for this role, what kind of strengths do you want? It is your work to understand the strengths of your teams, the weakness of the individuals in your team, and know where do you place them for maximum benefit of the team. There are times that we put people in the bench. And then in football, when you put a player in the bench, you are punishing them. So if you're a manager listening to me today, and we have one of your team members in the bench, and they're not doing anything because you're not giving them work. And when you give them work, you beat them like they should know they don't have a chance to be trained and all that. Again, I don't think it's very fair. Don't put people in the bench forever. Give them a second chance. In football, again, training is so key. developing the players for them to be able to be their best. And they're just using talent, of course, out of thinking, but they're just using their talents. If you go to marathon and all other sports, the training aspect of those players is so key. They spend a lot of time not playing, but training. They train so much for a game that will just take 90 minutes. And therefore, I cannot overemphasize the importance of being very clear about what are skills required for these particular roles, for specific roles. So you map the competencies, you do your training needs analysis in a way that you actually understand fully. If you train this, if this person masters this particular skill, we are going to reap the benefits of this particular role. Let us train people. Let us equip them to work. And let me also say that in a football pitch, even the coach positions all the players for success because he understands a win for the team is a win for everybody in the team. But in the office, we see so many people playing on their own, individual heroism. You want to kick the ball from this end all the way. But you can't score like that. You have to pass. So those team members or a manager who is trying to promote that individualism, take note of that. And anybody who is not interested in learning cannot be in the team because things are changing every day. Things are changing every day. There are very many things happen before you get a score, before you get a goal. We have attempted shots. We have ball possession. We have many things that we can call subjective measures. But we only celebrate the score. And I'm not saying that these others are not important. What I'm saying is we can be very busy with very many other things. But if our bottom line is not understood, then there's a problem. So do all those other things, but remember what is our end game. So we are developing the particular product, we are doing our marketing plans, we are doing our HR processes, whatever that is that you do. If you're an accountant and your work is to make sure that we comply with all the rules that appertain to your function, and you have filled the forms, you have collected ABCD, but you have not filed on time, then it doesn't matter how much effort you had put in the other things, because either way we have not scored. It's okay to be busy, it's okay to do other things that we have to do, but it's most important, we must understand what does a win in this particular department mean. And are we speaking the same language? Are we scoring the same side? Or are some guys self-sabotaging and scoring on the other side? Are some of us in the team playing rough? Those who are playing rough, how are they being handled? There needs to be rules for your team on how people should talk to each other when they have conflicted. For instance, in football, every time that you have seen people lose their temper and maybe they do things that are not, they do fouls. We had a case of Suarez where he even with someone else. We have things like that happen. How do we handle that? Discipline management in your team. But the discipline is coming from a set of rules that people already know. Everybody in the team must understand the rules of the game. What rules are we observing for us to be able to move this to the next level? And most teams establish a team charter. If someone is not coming to the office, they are sick, can they call by this particular time? How often do we meet? What is our training budget? Who are we going to train? All those things. Who can substitute for who? And therefore, how do we get them ready for this? All those are things that we can actually learn from the world of sports. Discipline. You see it very well. If someone commits any of those faults, they get a yellow card. But there are some offenses, they get a red card there and there. So you have to be that firm. You're friendly as a coach, you're friendly as the team leader, but when it comes to people floating the rules that you have agreed with them, then you're very firm on that, because then you do not want to set precedents that you cannot keep up with. Allow me to talk about giving feedback. We all see what they do. So they play, during play, the coach is there, is watching, and he can see how people are kicking and doing ABCD. After they play halftime, they'll take a break. They go and review. How are we performing? What are we facing? They scan the environment as SWOT analysis. What challenges are we facing? Who is a threat, and how do we mark that particular threat for us to be able to go beyond this? But sometimes you see people working all through the year until the end of the year when the HR says time for appraisal. And that's when the forms now start coming. People can't remember how they have been playing the game. The manager can't remember. He only remembers what happened maybe the last month. And therefore, it becomes a very antagonistic, adversarial process. And it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. There's a reason why we are employed. There's a reason why that company exists. And our work is to achieve those objectives. So very important that we have our goals planned. We have a time to just sit and review for the individuals and for the team. How exactly are we achieving? What are we facing? What risks are we facing? What opponents are we facing? What could stop us from getting this? What can we change in the game? Which other players can we bring in the game? All those things have to be factored. And again, I have talked about the time frames, because a game is 90 minutes and we all know it's 90 minutes and there's no more time. If we have to do more time, it's an extension, we have extra time, and that extra time is also measured. But we don't start a game without knowing that how many hours are we going to play. Break down all your annual goals into different matches. The matches you're playing in January, the matches that we're going to play in February. And if you understand performance management in that concept, just as a tool to help us, there are times that we have seen in football where people commit offenses and they deny. A pitch is full of people, audience are watching with the coaches running there, we have a referee, we have the linesman. But what happens? People still deny. So now we have to use the video technology for guys to be shown, let's see, play that back, let's see, how is this performing? And we see someone has actually committed a foul, but they had refused to actually be able to accept that particular foul. So it's very, very, very important that you don't delay feedback, because now you in the office, you do not have a video to play back. So if you delay the feedback for so long, by the time you're coming to tell me, Jane, you didn't do ABCD, I'll just be like, you know what, you're lying. You're lying. So it's very important that we give timely feedback. And remember, there's what we call the trap of real-time feedback, whereby you give and you have not thought through the feedback that you want to share. So it's very, very, very important that you take your time and think through about, what do I want to share? How do I want to share it? What exactly was done? How should it have been done? The alternative of what should have been done, and what did this particular thing cause? So even as you give your feedback within the proper timelines, think through. So don't give very reactive feedback. The other thing is about reward and recognition. We see the way people play football, and we have an award session. So how are we rewarding, even at the departmental level, at the team level, how are we rewarding our teams? Because you cannot have a team that is nobody tells them, you're doing very well. Can you change here? And ABCD. And then again, if you keep condemning a player, they don't have energy to play. And therefore we talk about what we call the forward coaching, where you help people see, not focus on the past mistake, but focus on how they can actually do better in the next game, how they can improve, how they can keep growing. When you have a new member coming to the team, if you follow football, you understand that you do not just come and then start playing. There's a whole onboarding process for you to understand our culture, how we do things, and we hold your hand until that time that we can actually tell you go. And that happens in promotions, should happen when you have a new person or new duties in the organization. And the structure also of the team is very clear. We have the coach, we have a captain of the game, and even the captain has an assistant. So don't be the only person you are the manager and there's nobody below you that can actually support you in the achievement of whatever that you have to achieve. But let me also say the importance of making sure that you have the best players in your team. So always in your selection of the team, remember the most important thing is the person that you bring to your team. If you hire team members that are not right, for whatever reason, sometimes conflict of interest, sometimes poor selection methods of recruitment, sometimes a poor job description, if you have the wrong person in the team, too bad for you. Because then they can't play what you want them to play. They can't play. And remember again, when people are not motivated, because motivation is a big piece in football. If the team is not motivated, they can't function. So as a manager, you have to see yourself as a team leader, you have to see yourself as a coach. Look at all those functions, from how you select your players, to how you train them, to how you set the goals, to how you train them for development, to how you set the rules of the game, the timeline that you have, the extra time. And let me talk about the breaks that they take. Because after a game, we always hear now that it's off-season. And they take a break to just go and relax. Welfare is very important, the players' wellness. So if you're a leader, always think about how well are your people? Are they suffering from burnout and you're not able to pick this? Are they suffering from stress and you're not able to pick this? Are you having people who are very good players but they are now coming down? They're not able to perform. Who is picking this and seeing what can you do to help instead of assuming the person cannot perform? So my call to all the managers, manage like a coach. Let us learn from the field of sports and know that it is not that complicated. It's nothing to do with the HR papers. We can even remove all those templates, the balance scorecard and all that, but have our goals very clear and have the rules of the game and have the best people in the team, give them feedback in a way that is positive, and just be able to manage and work as a team. The power of urgency is just 90 minutes that we are playing for. So if you're not able to manage that timeline, then you keep asking for extra time and we cannot grant extra time all the time. Thank you very much and all the best in your management.